Sri Lanka is one united nation again and fast on its way to a bright new future. A generation of present-day Sri Lankans have paid dearly for this opportunity, some with the ultimate sacrifice. And therefore we owe it to them to ensure that future is somehow secured for our future generations. We at the Sri Lanka Rupawahini Corporation, being the national television station of this republic, considered it our duty to be actively involved in the formulation of that future Sri Lanka. Thus we bring you Checkmate, the stories of some ordinary people who have travelled an extraordinary journey, gone that extra mile, stayed up that extra hour to make something more out of their lives in this country, so that you too may be encouraged to aspire for such greatness. A new Sri Lanka. Together we can.
Hello and welcome to another program of Checkmate. I have the distinct pleasure of having as my guest tonight someone who's been a dear friend for some time now. She holds a PhD in law, a master's degree in science in building studies. She has a Bachelor of Applied Sciences in quantity surveying. She holds a certificate in international construction management among several others. She is also an associate in architecture. She holds a bachelor's degree again in science in built in environment, and frankly, to anyone who is anyone in the construction industry here and in the region, she needs no introduction. Professor Chitra, Weddikkara, Ayubowan, welcome to Checkmate.
Ayubowan, Krishna.
Now, as we always start these programs, we sort of set the stage by going to people's background and how they started off, going to their early childhood and how they very quickly went through their school stage into what they are now. Do you want to talk to our viewers a little bit about your background?
Okay, my father and mother are both principals of school, education. Right. So we come from Negombo, but my father comes from Tarala Pugada and my mother comes from Nainamarama, close to Negombo.
As a child,
we settled in Kurana.
Right.
Yeah. So and my father started the school, the village school there. And we lived in the village school room at one time, and then after that moved into a house where they built it in Kurana, and that's where I grew up. And we went to, my basic years were at the Ave Maria Convent Kotehena, Ave Maria Convent Negombo, yes. And then into Guchabat Convent Kotehena.
Right. And then your bachelor's degree was in Colombo.
Yeah, in Colombo. So the thing is this, in Sri Lanka at that time, all your university education was in Colombo. And BSc BE in built environment, which is prelude to architecture, is from, at that time, Colombo University. It was then later on was taken into Moratuwa University, you know. But at that time it was Colombo University.
Right. And then, so from there, what made you, I mean, you obviously did your degree in built environment, that was at that time. A BSc,
yeah,
right?
That's
then,
correct.
So what, and then your quantity surveying,
okay,
how did that come?
Okay, the BSc built environment, and then after that, those days, the MSc was there, not there in architecture. So we had to go to any Commonwealth country to do the final, the MSc. So my husband's brother went to Australia, and therefore we also followed, because Australia was a Commonwealth country at that time, and we went to Australia to do a master's. Now once we finished doing our master's, there's a small story there. The thing is, my mother-in-law, of course I come from an architect's background. My father-in-law is an architect, my husband is an architect, husband's brother is an architect, husband's brother-in-law is an architect. Right. I mean, my nephew is an architect, I'm an architect, right?
Can I just disturb you and ask you, so you don't, I'm sure no one in your family has taken architects to build houses.
No, they do because they and so then, but my mother-in-law helped my father-in-law because my father-in-law was also architect at that time, and so she helped him to do all the quantities.
Right.
So one fine day, she asked me whether I like to do conserving. At that time, I was not introduced to conserving at all, but I was not interested. But after doing my architecture and working for nearly 5-6 years in Australia, and also I am a person who take a lot of challenge. There was no lady quantity survey, women conservators in Australia at that time, which go way back.
Right.
So then I decided, I thought I will go and do quantity surveying because it helps to understand, because at the end of the day, conservation does what? Managing money.
Of course.
Managing money, and money is very important today in the construction. You know, you have to make sure that you work within the budget, you work within the client's requirements and things like that.
So again, we're going to get into your professional area in just a while, but just to set the stage for our viewers. You, like you said, you're a pioneer in several aspects. You're first one of the few women who ventured into the industry. You also, somewhere it was reported, were the longest serving president of the Institute of Quantity Surveyors. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Talk us through those examples.
Okay, the thing is, in 1983, Professor Caldera started the quantity surveying course in Moratuwa. And then he died in 1987, and then I had just come from Australia and I took over the course. At that time, the course was not totally developed and conservators were not very well recognized or very well accepted in the industry. So it took me sort of a while to get the course going, and then also to start the Institute of Conservation, there was only 4 people. So the Conserving Institute is a young institute. So there, till my graduates became qualified and matured and things like that, I had to sort of stay in the position as a president
for quite some time, and thus ended being the longest serving president of the institute. Now, having climbed that whole staircase, steps to where you are now a professor of the Department of Building Economics.
Correct.
At the Faculty of Architecture in the University of Moratuwa.
Correct, yeah.
And we have lots more interesting things to speak of with Professor Weddikkara, especially with construction education, which is a pet subject, which we have several discussions on. And also we're going into some very interesting areas with regard to the reconstruction of Sri Lanka, which is a primary concern for all of us, most of us, after almost 30 years of a lack of construction in certain areas of the country. So we're going to come back to all of that straight after this. Welcome back. Professor, you have an extensive CV. I don't think in our program we can do justice to the extensiveness of your CV. But talking of your professional qualifications, there's an extensive area as the president of the Institute of Quantity Surveyors, then as an associate member of the Australian Institute of Quantity Surveyors, then as a fellow of the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, as a mediator. Now, the construction industry and professionalism, speaking about it, how geared are we as a professional body to approach things professionally? Now, I know, you know, that universities, high universities like King's College, Queen Mary, UCL, they have their own construction industry courses. They run to bachelor's and master's levels. And then there are professors who are trained only in things like industrial dispute resolution, the arbitral process, and the construction industry as a whole. How geared are we systemically in Sri Lanka to be in par with such systems, or what do we need to do to get there?
Of course, Krishmal, at the moment, I must say, I come from the Moratuwa University. Moratuwa University is a very highly recommended university where we do very good programs. And actually, our university is geared for professional courses. That means we do architecture, conserving, town and country planning or planners, engineers and engineers of various sorts. So that really, the University of Moratuwa is really geared to provide proper, good graduates, and they are employable. Actually, we do many things in the university. For example, not only do we teach them academically, but we also teach soft skills, even to the extent that we teach them how to wear a tie, how to eat with a fork and knife, you know, all that kind of thing, how to do a business lunch. You know, all those, not only because we come from rural backgrounds, we have never, and also construction industry is still very, very British orientated. It's conducted in English, and everything is from internationally, you know. Yes. So because of that, our graduates have to be trained to take up those challenges.
Right. So that's exactly what I was trying to come to. Now, if we speak of, say, for example, the FIDIC models of contract, which are used across the board in several international construction contracts. I mean, and we know our own ICTAD, the models are based on the FIDIC models of contract. Yeah. Now, Sri Lanka going ahead is obviously going to we are going to have massive development projects, massive construction projects, which is definitely going to involve several legal systems, several players from the international fora, and several people who are not going to contract on ICTAD possibly, but on the FIDIC levels and international construction models. Yes. Now, what in your department of building economics, in itself or beyond that, how are we gearing ourselves to meet that challenge?
Yeah, I can tell you, for example, the Department of Building Economics, of course, always foresee things. And now what we are trying to do is we are going to start a master's in construction law and dispute resolution, so that when we will do capacity building for our graduates who are either conservators, architects, engineers, or whoever in the, or lawyers, whoever in the industry who will be the players in the construction industry. So they get geared with this, and they are armed with this masters, a very good masters. I'm sure, Krismal, you will also be one of our resource person. I've already spoken to you. And I'm also having a professor from Murdoch University who will be the mentor and advisor, Professor Phil Evans. And so we are gearing up and building our capacity to take this, you know, development that's going to come in, you know, a big surge of development that
we have to be ready for.
We have to be ready. So capacity building, not only in the professional sector, Krismal, in other sectors. The skilled sector is also very important. The informal sector is also very important.
I was just going to bring you to that now. I mean, we have had this discussion where almost, you say, around 60% of our informal sector, the unskilled labor, is fluctuating. And so how, I mean, okay, we may have very good systems in place. We may have the lawyers and the quantity surveyors and the architects who know construction. But if we can't gear to the labor force, the actual workers on the field, how do we address that?
So actually the thing is, the construction industry workers are migratory workers. They are not like in the what shall I say, the factories and, you know, where garment sector, where they have a job, they come in the morning, they come in the evening, they have EPF, ETF, you know, they are sort of settled workers. But ours are not. They come when the work is there. So they go for agriculture and then they come back and then they go again. So because of that, we don't have the stability. So in my opinion, the various ministries and industries should look into that, especially our construction ministry. And I'm very happy that the government have a separate construction ministry, which we never had a long time ago. And now they should look at the informal sector and make them give them a card or identity card with their EPF, ETF numbers or whatever, so that even if they go back to their agriculture, they can
move back into the industry. They continue being a player in the industry.
So that is very important. So I think
moving back to that earlier area of professionalism, Professor, I know that you were so concerned of this area that you later on was behind starting and your own, if I may call it, your own brainchild of construction law school to deliver to the need of the construction industry. How's that doing?
Yeah, it's doing okay. I mean, it's going slowly. It's not we haven't advertised. We are looking for quality. It's called the Colombo School of Construction Technology. Actually, it was started mainly because our university system takes only a certain amount of students, not because we don't have resources. So there are many students who need to get a training, and the construction industry all over the world is booming. I mean, it's like, you know, it has a fluctuating characteristics, you know.
And we don't, I suppose, need to cater only to the local market.
No.
Because I know you were involved in a project where we went to Doha, and
that's right.
we were trying to look for contracts there where our labor could be.
Actually, at the moment, Krismal, our quantitative profession, our graduates are the biggest foreign exchange owners in terms of professionals to Sri Lanka. So that way we are looking at, so that is why we started this Colombo School of Construction Technology with few professionals, a group of professionals, to develop and give them opportunities to the students, you see.
But then coming back to the construction industry in Sri Lanka, a complaint that we get most often is the dearth of qualified persons when it comes to a dispute. All of us know that contracts start in a very amicable manner, both parties are happy, you eat kiribat and you start the project. But somewhere down the line, the employer and the contractor is going to have a problem. That's when the problems start arising. Now, for the dispute adjudication process, we know that it's only a very limited few individuals. And most often even they may not be totally professionally qualified.
Correct.
How do we make provision for the mass scale of construction industry players out there? Is it through the NCSL, the association, or the Chamber of Construction? I know Dakshita Talgoda is doing a lot of work. But how do we make room for all of these people to have access to proper dispute adjudication when these disputes arise?
There should be, I think, an adjudication center or a place where people can refer their disputes to this center, and there should be a group of professionals properly qualified, you know, who can advise them to sort of their disputes. Because don't forget, Krishmal, dispute resolution adjudication has been in our system for many years. It's not a strange thing. That's but getting it formalized is very important. So that is why I think we should have I think either ICTAD or organization should have an adjudication center, and I think we have formulated a adjudication program in the ICTAD, and I think ICTAD will now start developing that program very soon.
Right. Well, we have lots more interesting things to catch up with, Professor Weddikkara. As I said, our time may not be enough, but before we go for a quick break again, let me remind you that we are on email, we are on internet, we are on Facebook. We value your comments. The whole idea is to enter not only a dialogue with our guest and the host, but also with you. You need to write to us, tell us what you think, and that is the only way that we will make this a constructive dialogue together to go forward and build a better Sri Lanka for all of us. So do write to us at the email address appearing below. We're on Facebook. Look us up. Be in touch with us, and we'll see you shortly. Welcome back. Professor, in your career, you've been on several advisory committees, you've been an advisor on, to many state and other projects. You have also been a member of the Advisory Board of Directors at the Institute of Construction Training and Development, that's ICTAD. You have been the head of Paper Moderation Committee on Advanced Construction Training Academy, and you have also been an advisor, a National Advisory Council on Construction for the Ministry of Construction. Now, we all know that, as we stated earlier, the north and east are opening up, and obviously there is going to be a lot of catching up for us to do, because for 30 odd years the construction has been stagnant, and we need to bring it up at least in par with the rest of the country, and then together forge forward. But on the other side of the scale, in Colombo and the other areas where we say it has been so-called developed, we see that several projects do not conform to what we see internationally. For example, if you take a slum relocation project, it's very haphazardly done, there is no planning done. Then there is also complaints regularly of proper environmental impact assessments not being done. For example, when the floods came, the common complaint from several professionals was that we haven't planned for this and we have just gone and built everywhere we thought we should build. And that is why the proper water retention areas were not kept. And that was the reason why. So there seems to be this complaint together with the need for building. And now we have the opportunity to rebuild the north and the east, but not making the same mistakes that we've done elsewhere in other parts of the country. How do we go about approaching this, especially in the northern and eastern areas, without committing the same sins that we've committed elsewhere?
Yeah, I think north and east is a very sensitive area, and also development planning must be done properly. So that means all the stakeholders, that means the people of the north and east, as well as the UDA, the Urban Development Authority, also the planners, the architects, the engineers must get together and work out a program and a plan to make sure that we don't make the same mistakes that we did, and plan it out so that we have a developed but at the same time sustainable Jaffna, north and east.
But is there a system? I mean, surely you being in the industry,
yeah,
this is somewhere that we can use you, yeah, and others like you in the other areas, where a forum where all these people in your area, people in the engineering area, people in the legal area, everyone can get together. Is there one, or is there a need for such a forum? Where
actually, there is a need. There is no forum like that, Krismal. As far as I know, I'm in the industry very long. Of course, there is an advisory board in the Ministry of Construction, but really that is, of course, to do about construction. But I think it is necessary to have a board like this, where people can get together and give their ideas and
avoid mistakes that we've done in the past, as we know.
Yeah.
If you look at the present apartments that we have, such as the Bambalapitiya flats or the Maligata flats. Now, in 1973, we had the apartment ownership laws and the condominium property laws coming in. Then in 2003, the acts were amended to bring in management corporations for those people living in the flats themselves to make up their corporations. But we know of instances that to date, being in 2011, still those management corporations that were planned for these flats and dwellers have not been put in place, and they have not been established. So there seems to be a lacuna.
Yeah, that is because the mindset of people also have to change, because they don't know, they must be educated. Awareness programs must be given, so that the condominium laws, the management, all those things are made aware to these people. Of course, I know the condominium management has a booklet, but I mean, it should be better how we read the booklet, But if there's awareness program, and also I think also in the schools you have to do that. The young people must be made aware of what is happening in the country. So that way the older people as well as the young people can get to know what is happening.
Then I read a very interesting article in one of your statements to the press. You speak of a green building code, and you couple that with something called sustainable urbanization, which, I mean, it's a paradox in itself. People urbanize, people move from the rurals to the urbans. Then you have to make it sustainable. And then you speak of this green code. Take us through.
Okay, the green code is, all over the world. Now there is what you call sustainability, green coding, that there should be global warming. There are so many problems in the world. So Sri Lanka also must take their position in that. For example, green coding means to make sure that all our buildings, all our materials become green coded, so that we are aware of sustainable materials to be used. So at the moment,
what is green coding then?
Okay,
for a layman?
Okay, for example, the Department of Building Economics has now started what you call a green rating system. That means we identify all the materials.
That is environmental friendly.
Friendly, you see, and then say what is the carbon content, how does it affect the environment. And now, of course, with the University of Morocco, now there is what you call the Green Council of Sri Lanka, where all the professionals have now got together and have started the Green Council. And the Green Council is very soon is going to bring a green code system like the LEEDs or the BREEAM or things like that, so that our people, it's very more towards Sri Lankan rather than taking from the West, but it's more Sri Lankan friendly,
geared to our
cultural these things, you know. Yeah, so that people are made aware that green is the most important. That means materials used, the energy, you know.
So what you're basically trying to say, if I understand you correctly, is that in your entire construction process, you would give a priority to making that process enviro-friendly without taking steps that would harm the environment, thus having an ultimate effect on the environment.
Now, for example, the Ceylon Institute of Builders who have been formulated now, I'm also in the advisory board. What we are going to do is get the builders aware of green construction, green building, so that they, you know, it comes from two parts, education plus construction. So the Ceylon Institute of Builders are now looking at green construction and having workshops for people. Now at the moment they're going to Jaffna in few days time to make them also aware of, because that's the place to start. Now we are starting from nothing almost. So let's start properly, you know, so that our environment is safeguarded.
Professor Chitra Weddikkara, having been in this construction industry for all these years, taking out several students over the years in the industry, having been a mentor to most of them, what does this Professor Chitra Weddikkara have to tell the emerging Sri Lanka, the future Sri Lanka, someone from the industry who's taken several pioneering steps? There is construction to be done, there is a country to be built. What do you have to tell the younger people?
Trismal, construction, I'm very, very passionate about construction. Construction is high risk, but at the same time rewarding. It's the best thing to be in. So I'm telling my students and my young people, get into construction because it will be rewarded. And you can go anywhere in the world. You can work in Sri Lanka. You know that now Sri Lanka is going through this surge of construction with peace coming to our country. We need rebuilding. So we need you young people to get into the construction industry, whether it's skilled, unskilled or professional. So my advice is not to forget about construction, get into construction and you will be rewarded for the rest of your life.
Professor Weddikkara, I want to thank you on behalf of our production team at Checkmate on the national television, Rupawahini, for taking time off of your globe-trotting schedule to be with us tonight and share your thoughts with us and with the people viewing out there. So once again, we come to an end of Checkmate. We'll see you on another program soon. Do write to us, be in touch with us on Facebook or email, and we'll see you shortly. Prof.
Thank you.
And so, we bid you adieu for the moment, with the hope of seeing you again on a Checkmate very soon. If we do so, we leave you with these words from H.W. Longfellow. Heights by great men, reached and kept, were not attained by sudden flight. For they, whilst their companions slept, were toiling upwards in the night. Young Sri Lanka will see you again on a Checkmate soon.